Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Born Offside, the soccer show. I am half of your hosting team. My name is Chad Gibson. Dan Brennan going to join us via the internet here in just a minute. We're going to have to give him a second just to get ready to talk about Liverpool's performances on the weekend. Thank you all for joining us, for tuning in for, what is this, week 3? Week 2? I should know. I should have a better answer for that. For Born Offside, we've been here a couple of times. We're getting things going. The Premier League is back. The Premier League is here. Week 1 is officially in the books for the most part. A couple teams that made it too far in Europe. Those teams that that are based out of Manchester. They just had to play a little longer than everyone last summer. They had to play deep into August, and thus were granted 30 days off by the overlords of the FA. So no games in Manchester, no Manchester United, no Manchester City. Those games will take, they'll slot it in somewhere later in the season. I remember seeing this. I looked it up when it initially happened. It's not an opportune time. They're going to stuff it in on a Wednesday in between two important games, probably while you're in the middle of a cup tie or a cup run, something along those lines. That's how the FA does it. They don't want players to make it through the season without a bunch of injuries. That's how I feel so far. Just trying to fill a little time here just while we get set up, get Dan ready to go here. Dan was stuck making porn again this evening. That's what he does when he's not here. He is, if you look for it, it's MaleLoads2222 on Instagram. You'll find him. He's out there slinging. That's what he does on a Monday afternoon, is just to pay the bills. He's out there letting that jolly hog flow. So Dan's going to get a quick shower and be ready to get us on here in a second. What a great start. Weird to see the Premier League, the way they're rolling things out. We're getting him ready. I see some hand movement over there. So we're getting close. But what I've really enjoyed with the way the Premier League is kicked off, and I think it's going to be the case for the time being until we're back to full sport, is having just one game at a time. There's only one game on. There's nothing for me to miss. No real choices for me to make. I've got my DAZN subscription. I can lay on my couch from early Saturday until really midday Monday and just watch football and watch football replays. I feel like Dan's ready to join us now. I get the thumbs up. Dan, can you hear me?
I can. I don't know how long I'll last. I'm on my
Who hasn't heard that from Dan?
Because I don't seem to be able to get a consistent internet connection here, live from Levity Comedy Club and Lounge in Hamilton.
Awesome. What's going on at Levity tonight?
You were just saying you were loving the one game time format?
I'm loving it for just pure mass consumption. That I can just sit here and watch game after game. They finish it. It gives me half an hour or so to go walk my dog, shake the dew off a little bit, and then just lay back into the couch and let it all happen again. Unfortunately, not a lot of great games on the weekend, but I can still get into it. Gave me some time to figure out what the next few months are going to look like. Should we get right into it?
Yeah, let's do it. Obviously, I made some predictions that went disastrously wrong. If anybody is following us on Twitter and decided to bet based on my predictions, you've lost money. That's the only thing I can tell you about that. So we started with our good friends Crystal Palace and visitor Southampton.
Tough start for you. Southampton, thoroughly uninterested.
Right. Well, I thought Southampton would actually do a lot better in that game. I think they've got one of those, something to build on from last season.
I agree with that.
But I was actually really impressed with the pace of Crystal Palace. I think, they've got the kind of strikers that can definitely cause teams problems in the year ahead. And they'll get some results. Yeah.
I don't know with Palace, though. Palace, it always seems to be the same thing. They've had the same guys at the front, guys with real talent. Like Wilfried Zaha is a real talented player. but he's always going to
Yeah.
end up either injured or thoroughly uninterested. And he's already starting the season that way. He wants out. He's made it clear he wants out. He scored a goal. He barely even looked up in celebration. He just frowned and looked at the bench like, you're making me here. You're making me be here, and I don't want to be here.
I know. Well, he had a brief stint at your club. That was supposed to be his big move. What's the scuttlebutt behind why that?
It was all attitude from what I remember, was he just wouldn't put in
Right.
the work. So he came in and we threw him in the lineup right away. He had a good, 65 minutes or something like that, and then never really worked again with that sort of intensity. And that seems to be the case at Palace as well, where he's, he has battled injuries. He's had a lot of problems with sort of hamstrings and ankles that for a player like him that relies on that quickness and that sort of that real attacking nature, it's taken its toll on him and maybe slowed his progress. But I think it comes down to the big thing for him is, it is attitude. And are people going to pay what he wants to get paid for a guy that may or may not show up?
Yeah, well, there's been quite a bit of that over the years in terms of people getting the big move that they wanted, and then their level of interest seems to diminish. Manchester United seems to have a habit of buying players like that, actually. Not consistently, but there's been a few cases over the years.
Definitely.
And of course, we have in the Liverpool camp, we have our Harry Kewells and our Johan Kronkamps that kind of fit that description as well.
Andy Carroll.
So, yeah. Well, Andy Carroll, I think he was just an injury case. He's dragging a 6'7" frame around a football pitch for 90 minutes. His body can't handle that kind of pace. But Andy Carroll was never going to be at one of your top four clubs, but he could do a job for a good mid-table, lower half table.
You know what? He's a guy that I really wanted back when he went to Liverpool. I thought him and Wayne Rooney playing together would have been a perfect 1-2, sort of big man, small man, striker. Rooney played in that kind of Rooney role, like a floating number 10 anyway. Andy Carroll as a knockdown guy and just sort of clear out space, just as willing to have a beer and a brawl after the match as Rooney was. I thought it was a perfect fit.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't agree with that, because it was never the style of football that Brendan Rodgers wanted, to play. So he was never going to fit in from that remote. Okay, I think I've got enough internet connection that I'm just going to try and log in from my laptop. If you'll let me disappear and come back.
All right. Well, you head out. I'll cover a couple other games here and see what we can do.
Don't mention the Liverpool match until
No, we're saving that. There's lots to talk about there. So Dan shuffles the deck here for a second. As far as I saw, looking at that Palace Southampton game, Southampton's always one of those teams I just want to cheer for. It seems, it's a historic club. It's a club that has historically caused Manchester United a lot of trouble. They seem to have resolute defense. They always seem to be able to move as one big kind of 9 or 10 man block throughout the backfield. So it's something that I'm cheering for Southampton to. I don't know what realistically is what's a good season looks like for Southampton. I guess it's top 10. They could maybe someday end up in a Europa League position, but that would cripple them. There's no way they have the depth to be able to handle a European run on top of a Carabao Cup and an FA Cup, and then the Premier League leading that all in. So Southampton, there's still lots of fight left in that team. It's one weekend. There's not time to cause any real trouble there. First game of the season, it kicked off with Arsenal-Fulham at Craven Cottage. Nothing like a full arse to start the day. Boring match once again. Arsenal is a team that has won a bunch of games in a row now. They're winning, just nothing but rolling through. Still not exactly a team I'd want to, that I really want to bet the house on. But Arsenal really starting to show that there's a plan. Mikel Arteta, I don't know if he's got all the money he needs to make it happen right away, but he definitely has a distinct style in how he wants to play. I was hoping Dan might have been ready there as I took a sip just to jump in, but what I like seeing with the Arteta team, he knows what he has. He sticks to an attacking style of football, which has been, as far as I can remember, as long as I've watched Arsenal, they've had an attacking, a 1-2, lots of passing style of football. Arteta has that built into him, I guess, for having been there, having been an on-field player with Arsenal. And then going on, working at City with Pep. I don't know if it's Pep's resume speaks for itself, but the Amazon documentary about City is really really good. And I'm a guy that hates City. I really don't want to say good things about City. I could go any number of different ways to say how much I hate them, but that documentary was fantastic. I really really enjoyed it, and it makes you, if you're a fan of, I guess, a fan of sport in the way I am as a drama. It's my sports are my afternoon drama. That's my soap opera. I like the approach that Pep has in bringing this sort of this maestro of both personalities and this footballing style that he runs in behind. So I have the ultimate respect for him. Arteta being someone who sat shotgun for Pep for a while. I got a chance to see that, to lead that sort of lead that line, I guess, and see how it's done by the best. The best that I think I've seen in my time has been Pep Guardiola. Um, no one's really changed things the way that the Guardiola has. So Arteta getting his feet wet, sitting beside Pep has got to be a good way to set a team up for success. Dan, I hear you're back. Oh, and just like
Sounds like it.
Oh, there it is. I heard something. Dan?
Yeah, I am definitely here, Chad, listening to you wax lyrical about
excellent.
Man City, doing your best to be objective and not let your pure hatred of them shine through. That's really sweet of you.
It's crystal clear that I hate them, but Pep is something special. So, anything to say? Arsenal Fulham, not much of a match. I don't know if you caught that one.
Sorry, I just wanted to interrupt for a second. Joseph. Sorry?
Go ahead. Dan,
So I was going to say, Joseph, our producer, I can't see Chad on my screen. I don't know if there's something you can do about that. But yeah, obviously the big game of the weekend, from my perspective, took place at Anfield. Did you watch the game, Chad?
I did. I watched all of the games this weekend. I'm single.
Well, good for you. That's a heck of an effort. I did not get to see all of the games, but such is life. I'd love to hear your thoughts on both Leeds' performance and what you think this means for Liverpool going ahead, and then I'll correct you where you're wrong.
So Leeds' performance, I thought, was fantastic. They came out maybe a little bit advantage to Leeds in the sense that it was an empty stadium and they didn't have to deal with the Anfield faithful raining down what would be a much different atmosphere than an empty Anfield. In the same way that might have benefited Leeds, I feel like it hurt Liverpool because Liverpool still had this casual. That's not the Liverpool I was afraid of last year. That's not the team that scared the shit out of me all through 2019. They still have all those great players. You can see it in the touch. You see in Salah's second goal was incredible. But the casual mistakes, the sort of leakiness of Liverpool has really, really kind of picked up over the last, even looking at it statistically, if you kind of look at like their last 12, 13 matches, they've given up more goals since February than they did the entire rest of last season. It was like 15 goals in their first 26 games, and now they're like 21 in the last 12 or 13 games. So it's a team that, that over itness is showing. But I also don't think they expected Leeds to come out like they did. They could have used a home field crowd to crank that up and celebrate and get things rolling. But yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think. Well, I was mightily impressed with Leeds. To be honest with you, I didn't see a lot of them last year. I know they come up highly touted. They're such a massive club. They didn't come up like other clubs come up. I think they are expected to stay in the Premier League. And based on that performance, like if they can consistently do that for 38 games, I can see them finishing in the top half of the table. That was a really great team effort. The only thing I will say, we got a penalty in the first 3 minutes. It was a bit of a scramble the first 3 minutes. And you would expect me to say this as a Liverpool fan, but it's a big deal to go to Anfield. Even if you won the championship last year, players dream of walking out onto the Anfield pitch just because of the history of the place and its reputation with the crowd. So I think that first goal was gifted to Liverpool just from nerves.
That's
speaking
one of
of
those
nerves,
bad luck. I had no problem with the call. The guy shouldn't have his arm out like that. It is what it is.
oh God,
I
no,
didn't have a
no,
problem with either
it
one
was
of the
that was
calls,
as
to be honest.
No, I think that's as clear a penalty as you're going to see. I think Fabinho did what all great strikers do, even though he's not a striker, and he felt a little bit of contact and he took advantage of it. You're going to see any player do that in the modern game.
Yeah, that was a bad, there was no reason to stick that leg in on Fabinho, and he did the right thing.
No,
it sucked,
absolutely
but
not. You're begging to give away a penalty, but I don't think I'm going to have to stop watching Liverpool if every game is going to be like this, because you'll remember last season we had a habit of winning games late, like games that we should have won. I don't want to say no problem, but we should have coasted the last 10 minutes. We should have been up 2 goals and home clear. We were winning with last minute goals, and my heart is not going to take another 38 games of that. I will have to stop if Liverpool plans on giving us a 7-goal thriller every time they play. But I take umbrage with your stats about the amount of goals they've conceded, because I think
that's fair. You don't have to believe stats; they're still true.
The most strict statistician would put those performances under the lens of the conditions that we were playing under. You had a team that had already won the league, so maybe that intensity wasn't there. You've got the COVID situation. You've got the lack of fans.
Yeah, but you can add to that losing in Europe, losing in the.
I think when you can look at a lot of time, what wins benches is who you can bring off the bench to change the game, and I think we're in a good position in that point of view. I thought Curtis Jones came on, looked like he was playing in the team for 3 seasons. You know what I mean? There was no drop in quality there whatsoever. So I think that the size of the squad now is really going to help us throughout the year. And you know what? Virgil van Dijk makes a mistake in the first or second game of every season. A big, a clanger, an absolute, misplays of the week type thing. And, he got a bad bounce yesterday. I'm not being too hard on him. But he seems to have that one mistake at the beginning of every season, and then everything's fine from there. I was mightily impressed with Mo Salah's performance on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that, and I'm basically parroting what Gary Neville, who has more reasons to hate Liverpool than anyone, what he said. And this could be the season where Salah really pushes on and proves that he's the best in the world. Ronaldo's not young, Messi's not young.
Yeah, he is literally playing the same position as Messi.
This could very much be Salah. What's that?
He's literally playing the same position as Messi.
Yeah, absolutely he is. Absolutely he is. Except he wouldn't be asked to come back as deep on a consistent basis. But yeah, it was really great. I don't know how you feel about this, Chad. I think this is probably an interesting point. Now, if I was a professional footballer, I would have a problem claiming a hat trick if one of those goals was a penalty.
Yeah, 2 of them's
mean?
tough. But in the same way, you're doing your job. There's lots of guys that miss penalties.
Sorry, say again?
There's lots of guys that miss penalties. Look at the problems United had this time last year with penalties. They count, man, and they're important. Those points will count at the end of the year. So I get the argument of saying, it's penalties, but that's a different skill. It's just like,
So you don't.
Oh.
Yeah, but so you respect that if a hat trick includes a penalty or not, it's still a hat trick.
I get the argument, but to me, I guess I've just watched too many missed penalties the last few years to discount what a penalty is actually worth.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the great joys of being a Man United fan. Yeah, I don't know. That's just me personally. I was like, you did score 1 from the spot.
2.
Well, he scored 2 from the spot.
Yeah.
But a hat trick.
But his goal was a blast.
All the goals were hit with some force. Even the penalties weren't dinked in. It was a fantastic game. It's probably the best game of football I've seen in a couple of years. The intensity. You really, when we scored our second, I thought, okay, that's it. They scored. We came back down, scored 3 minutes later.
But that intensity from Liverpool wasn't there in my mind.
Just what the hell is going on here?
That was the
Just
Liverpool
the intensity of the entire game, watching it as a fan.
I noticed I don't see that Liverpool intensity that was going this time last year. All through 2019, they had that laser focus. Um,
Right.
the skill's still there.
Well,
The players are still there. I think
we'll
that
see
game
how it
proved
goes.
one of the things I said, that Fabinho is far more important than Henderson to that team because things locked down when Fabinho came back in the lineup. I also think he got his teeth done. Did you notice that?
Well, give Henderson a break. He was barely, he was barely past fit for the game. But you'll never hear me say a bad word about.
About your cell phone provider? Do we lose Dan? All right. Well, um, sticking on Liverpool for a minute, because Liverpool are, Dan was talking about having some squad, having actually some excellent depth in the squad. That actually benefits local soccer fans. If you're a Toronto-based soccer fan, you're a fan of TFC. Liverpool have recently sent out young Scottish defender Tony Gallagher out on loan to TFC. He's going to be with TFC till the end of December. A real up in quality, really bringing that a guy that has a touch of Liverpool under 23. Liverpool, I think he actually has first team experience with Liverpool as well. From covering in the back. I'm just trying to check that quickly. If he did get in the first team, got a little bit of first team appearance. Let's call it 29 minutes with the big squad. Absolutely impossible team to break into, Liverpool right now. So a young player needing to get out on loan and get a little bit of time coming to TFC. Really, that's a great deal for Liverpool. Send this guy out. He's going to play when he comes to TFC. He's going to be the proper quality to be a standout player in the MLS. He'll get to run up for all of October, November, December. Loan finishes at the end of December when Liverpool hit a really busy time of the year. So coming back into that January transfer time, when it is just busy, when they'll have European responsibilities, they will have FA Cup, they will have League Cup, as well as Premier League responsibilities. Bringing a kid in that may have now played 3 months and just be in form, in shape, and ready to go is a good move for both Liverpool and for TFC at this place. I haven't been paying close enough attention to TFC. I can't imagine they're overstocked at left back that a Premier League player isn't going to be able to step in and become a real part of that squad. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing it. Continuing with Liverpool's their current tradition of great left-footed left backs. Hopefully this Tony Gallagher kid could come out here and be something special at TFC. It's fun to have that. So we got time to take a break. Dan's back. Dan is back. All right. He didn't die in some sort of Hamilton meth-related accident. Dan, can you hear me?
I can indeed, sir.
We were just talking quickly here about your boys from Liverpool sending out on loan left back Tony Gallagher coming to TFC. Any thoughts on that one?
Well, today is the first day I've heard of the guy. That's how blessed we are at left back.
His
From a
first team
big picture
experience.
point of view, I went and saw Liverpool play an exhibition match against TFC, and I was kind of hoping that would become a tradition. I think, if you look what Man City's done in terms of their ownership of New York FC and the other links that clubs are making with MLS teams, I think it's a really good idea for Liverpool to have an association with at least one team and a place to send youngsters for seasoning. So, yeah, I would welcome any links between TFC and Liverpool.
So this kid does have first team experience with Liverpool. He has been good enough to get on the field a few times. Not exactly, like I said, there's a bit of a backlog in the left back position there, especially with Robertson really just sort of, arguably the best in the world right now. Certainly best Premier League style left back we have around right now.
Yeah. Well, listen, Chad. I don't think I'm going to make it through the hour because I'm now on my cell phone. Can we talk? I don't know what you had planned, and I'm really sorry I'm not there. It's the kickoff of the new season, but work has to come first. I wanted to talk about the Tottenham match a little bit, and then maybe you can take your break, and I'll leave you to the rest of it, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, I didn't log into the Tottenham match till 15 minutes into it.
Okay.
And from the 15th minute to the 30th minute, Everton could not get the ball out of their own half. You know, it felt like it was all Tottenham. But then from about the 30th minute to the 45th minute and beyond that, Everton really worked their way back into the game. And if you look at their front three, if you look at their manager, I think they're going to have themselves a really good season this year. I'm at the point where they might even win at Anfield. You know, like it's been a lot of years since they have. But I was impressed with the way they played. And the flip side of that is I was not impressed with Tottenham at all.
No, I agree with that. They looked awful.
What has Jose been doing there since he arrived? Like, he came in halfway through last season. So this is his first full season to make it his team, right? Mm-hmm. And, of course, we sat through the documentary. You were talking about the Amazon Prime show about Man City. Tottenham has done something very recently where we see in behind the scenes. And for me, that's just all been a waste. There's like, I could not believe how bad Tottenham were. Like, there's just no excuse for it. And then I'm going to put down for my blatant offside of the week would be Mourinho's comments about his team. It seems a little bit early in the Jose Mourinho tenure to start calling players out. Now, he was very careful. He said the front half, the front three, the press was lazy. He didn't call anyone out by name.
But he wasn't wrong either.
Dele Alli off at halftime. And we all know that Dele Alli had a terrible season last year. If you've watched the Tottenham documentary, most of it is about how are we going to get more out of Dele Alli? Why has he lost his focus? And like those front three, I don't see those three as the kind of players who are going to dig in and press consistently and to the point that you need for a press to be consistent. You know what I mean? I don't see those three players as the track back kind of guys. I
don't know if I agree with that, but I see what you're saying, especially from the performance that on the weekend. It was, it looked like they're all playing for a guy they hate.
Yeah.
No one's going to dive for Mourinho. No one's going to block a shot for Mourinho. That was the real impression I had of them.
And then let's contrast to the Leeds match where, they must have had 5 or 6 block shots.
Yeah.
Everybody was throwing bodies around, And I think this is a criticism that we used to have against Arsenal. They seem to play the game at a walking pace or consistently. Mm-hmm. And once again, I'm stealing this comment from someone else. But, Tottenham play without an identity. There's not a consistent style of play. There's not a, like people talk about Man United and the Man United tradition of attacking football. And they contrast that to some of the styles that have been played under different managers since Ferguson retired. But at no point in the history of football has anyone ever said, this is the Tottenham style. And I just feel that if you're a North London club with one of the greatest managers of all time, you're in your brand new shiny stadium, maybe it's time to define what Tottenham Hotspur's football is about. And it's going to have to be more than 3 front players who don't really give a toss about their defensive responsibilities,
I don't know if I agree with your sort of assessment of that front three. I think Son definitely covers both ends of the field pretty well. Look back to him breaking Andre Gomez's leg last year with that slide tackle. He's not good at it, but he defends pretty hard. Harry Kane, he wants out, in my opinion, just watching him play. I don't know why Barcelona hasn't come for him yet. He's a perfect...
Or Man U, for that matter. But the funny thing about Harry Kane is that, we all think that he wants out of Tottenham. We all think he should leave Tottenham for a bigger club. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of noise around that at the moment. And you would think from Tottenham's point of view, if they were going to lose him, they're going to need to replace him with someone pretty big because... he's Harry Kane, for God's sakes. So I don't know. I might want to change my pick for first manager being fired and plump for some trouble at Tottenham. But,
I think I already said Mourinho, didn't I?
I just look. It's a 38-game season, right? You're not going to be defined by your first game. As many people said, it's all about bouncing back from a defeat as opposed to being beaten. But I wanted more from Tottenham. I want this to be the season where there's 4 legitimate contenders for the title, and I wanted Tottenham to be one of them. And I think I'm just kind of disappointed that, at least in this one game, they didn't show me that. And I think the other thing I was disappointed about is that the message that Jose's brought to the team, that you got to be hungrier, you got to be meaner, it does not seem to be translating onto performances on the pitch, which is really, really bizarre.
Yeah, I don't think like that team. I was expecting still to make some moves. The only player I remember them bringing in of any sort of impact would be Højbjerg, who came from one of the teams that was relegated. I'm pretty sure. Højbjerg started
he didn't have a great game, but you're going to give the guy a chance to settle in. You're not going to, we're not going to roast him or destroy him over one game. But
I think the other side of that, though, is that Everton team made a couple of sneaky signings that I just missed. Rodriguez was sort of the big signing for them. James Rodriguez being the big name, free transfer coming in from Real Madrid. But they made 2 signings that I missed that really changed my whole feeling on that team now. They picked up Abdoulaye Doucouré from Watford, I think it was, and they picked up that the Brazilian Allen from Napoli, that little midfield bulldog. He's a fantastic player, perfectly fits into a Premier League style. He's to me, he really reminds me of Mascherano, the old Liverpool sort of deep-lying midfielder like that.
Yeah, one of those nice defensive midfielders I'm always talking about. Nice. Yeah, I thought they created some lovely stuff. I thought that the finishing could have been better at times.
Sure, I think that's their big weakness.
Yeah, and on the first account, I know we were going to have a long chat last week about your opinions of James Rodriguez. But I thought on first showing, okay, this guy could be good in the Premier League. I think one of the things that he has going for him, he's not one of those strikers who's seen too much football. You know what I mean? Like, he hasn't been playing consistently week in and week out. And I think
because he's been injured though. He's been injured since like 2 World Cups ago.
Game, you can get strikers that are, they've played way too much football by the time they're 28 that the legs are gone, right? It's too intense. So I think they've made a really shrewd boast, shining. I think he's someone who can shine for them in a big way. And the other argument I have for signing him is the business side of thing. Apparently he has 46 million followers on Twitter or Instagram or one of these platforms. I believe Liverpool has something like 13 million. So for one player, if you've got 46 million followers and the guy sells 200 shirts with his name, or 200,000 shirts with his name on the back of it, I have a feeling they're going to make some money off the guy, even if he never scores a goal for them.
I don't think, he's a fine signing to me. I don't think it's a big deal. It's more looking at that midfield with Doucouré, with Allen, with Andre Gomez back and healthy, like after that horrible sort of ankle leg break last year. They've got Jean-Philippe Gabin, something like that. He's an African midfielder. Came in last year, ankle, hamstring, and then his Achilles tendon. He's not due back until the end of the month, I think. But another guy that's going to make just real competition for a real quick, athletic midfield. Throw that in. I think they're missing a real striker. I don't think Calvert-Lewin is your guy up front, but give them some time.
He's one of the ones I thought could have been more clinical yesterday, him and Richarlison. And once again, it's the first game of the season, 2 days ago. It's the first game of the season. Let's see how their finishing comes along. But other than that, I think they're going to be a sound little team that will definitely do better than they did last year. So on that note, I'm down to about 10% battery.
All right.
Do you think you can take this home? I bet you can.
Well, we'll see what we have to say here. We will probably shit on Liverpool for 20 to 25 minutes and then wrap it up from there.
About right. That sounds about right. That's the best way for us to generate traffic on our social media channels at Born Offside CA on Twitter and the Born Offside, the soccer show Facebook page. But sorry I couldn't be there. We had Woohoo Simpsons trivia tonight at Levity Comedy Club and Lounge in Hamilton. And as their sexiest waitress, and only employee. I was I had to work tonight, but I'm looking forward to getting back to the studio next Monday. And congratulations on landing an interview with a York 9 player. I'm really looking forward to what you guys have to talk about on Wednesday, and I'm really looking forward to getting more people from the Canadian Premier League into the show.
Yeah, just an update on that. We had to shuffle that around a little bit, so there won't be an interview on Wednesday, but next Monday night show, we're going to have a guest in studio here. So get your ass to Toronto next week.
That's amazing, because I didn't want to miss the opportunity to meet and chat football with a genuine real life footballer.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week, Dan. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, thanks, Chad. Talk soon, everybody. Bye.
And with that, Dan, taking a little break. We're going to take a little break here. Oh. Okay, we're going to still. All right, we're going to take a little break. We'll be right back. I think his phone's dying. There it is. Amidst the applause, we are back. It is Born Offside, the soccer show. My name is Chad Gibson. You can follow me on social media. I'm at Chad Gibson Comic, basically everywhere. I'm a Toronto-based stand-up comic. I'm a big fan of the beautiful game of football or soccer. I got to be honest, it feels weird saying that. I didn't get into the game when I was young enough for people to convince me that it was called soccer. I got into it as an adult where everyone calls it football. We get weird in North America because there's other game where no one kicks the ball where they call that football as well. But for me, this is football. So back at it here. We were talking just before the break about Everton, Tottenham, and what a sort of lifeless-looking Tottenham team that was. The Everton team, I am getting more and more impressed with by the day. And then I saw a rumor today, and a transfer rumor that I loved as well. Bayern Leverkusen winger Leon Bailey saying he wants a move, saying he wants out of the German Bundesliga. He's been there. He's kind of done everything he can do as far as he's concerned, ready for a new challenge in the Premier League. And the two teams that I hear rumored for this one, multiple sources, we're saying Everton and Tottenham. I got to say, this makes a lot of sense to me if Everton has more money to throw around. That team has spent a lot of money the last couple of years, but when I start looking at how solid that midfield is, you do have attacker James Rodriguez as well as Richarlison. But from there, it looks a little bit thin as far as I'm concerned. They have I think he's Brazilian, Bernard is his name, tiny little dude, absolute wizard on the ball, sort of a B-grade David Silva type player. but he is small and he has been kind of injury prone over the last couple of years. So not a guy you necessarily want to say is going to be in the lineup every week. Bringing in a player like Bailey, that is a great option on the left-hand side. Left-footed player with speed to burn. He absolutely burns it down the sides. Decent finishing ball and also a little bit of an eye for goal himself. He does like to get into the box with those sort of darting runs, but he's sort of a traditional, excuse me, I got the hiccups here. In my mind, a very traditional English-style winger, using his speed down the side, getting out wide, making plays, and making things happen from that side. Be an excellent addition to the team for Tottenham to bring a little bit of extra speed, give them something different, because they've got a midfield now that can actually throw that ball around a little bit. With Rodriguez, he can make a pass, he can go a little bit longer, can be a little more direct. Andre Gomez as well, now back, hopefully. I haven't got to see him play yet this year. Loved him in his brief time with Barcelona. He's just sort of the player I've been looking for in the midfield for a long time. I thought he looked great at the start of last year before Son decided to break his leg in half. But coming back from that towards the end of the year, he was able to get playing. You figure a few more months off, a little bit of training, a little bit of Corona, and he's back at it. So look for big things. Everton, the defense is a little suspect. It does get a little bit weak down the middle, but they do have England's number one, Jordan Pickford, at the back end as well. So I think set up for probably more success than I gave Everton credit for. They're always one of those teams I'm happy if they do well against anyone but Manchester. And, we'll see how the season goes out. They've got a team that's worth watching and definitely something that we can get behind here. Moving along in terms of transfer news, one of the things I found interesting today was transfer finalized, newly promoted West Brom, looking to solidify the defense a little bit. West Brom Albion brought in 36-year-old former Chelsea defender. I guess he played on the right side back then. But seeing Branislav Ivanovic back in the Premier League, I assume now playing more centrally. He was slow when he was here, 8 or 9 years ago, bombing down the wing for Chelsea. The dude is an absolute tank of a man, though. I have no doubt that he has the sort of the strength and resolve to play in the center of defense for really anyone in the Premier League. He may not be top quality, but he's not going to back down from anything. I think also all the winning he's done, I'm pretty sure he was still around in Chelsea when they won the Champions League, definitely has won the Premier League multiple times. Great addition to the back end, but at 36, could be some issues with speed there. You got to wonder if they're going to be a little more open or a little more available to be getting hit on the break, if that's the kind of setup. We're also sort of talking, again, about Harry Kane. Harry Kane, I've been saying for years, should make a move. I don't believe in Tottenham. I haven't believed in Tottenham before. I'm not going to believe in them this year. Jose Mourinho isn't going to be the guy that makes Tottenham something special. He's shown that he's past it. He's shown that, the Mourinho show just wears players out. Your best bet with Mourinho is bring him in at Christmas to finish the season in a Champions League position or avoid relegation, and you want to cut that cancer out as soon as the summer rolls around. Show your players that you care about them, that you care about their mood on a day-to-day basis. Because there's one thing Mourinho's done. He has sucked the life out of football clubs to the absolute bone. When Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came in to Manchester United, taking over from Mourinho, he said he just wanted everyone to have some fun again. And it turned into, a 10-game winning streak and a whole flip of the switch for the entire organization. Solskjaer has a job from just being a guy who came in and said, hey, guys, you're making millions of dollars to play football. Have some fun. Yeah, we want to win. Yeah, we want to implement a system. But remember what you're doing here. Mourinho doesn't seem to remember that. If you watch any of these things with players, there's always a look in a player's eye when he's dealing with Mourinho. That's that look of, I assume it's how every guy with an alcoholic wife looks when he's just been yelled at by this person for weeks on end that's not making any sense, that's just coming at you for no good reason. There's just a wiped over look from these players when he's just been screamed at for days and days and days about some minutia that hasn't been fully explained in any of the languages he speaks. It's just not happening. That whole song and dance of the Mourinho show, it's gone. It's over. I think there was a time when it worked, and I think it was a time that was before social media and before the media blew up like it is. Because now Mourinho's too happy being the star. He's happy being the guy on the front page, making all the news, making all the noise on his own. I don't think that's what you're looking for. But as we said, Harry Kane possibly on the move. I'd like to see it. I always see a rumor once or twice a year of Harry Kane to Manchester United. Back up the bus or back up the truck, whatever we got to pay to bring in a striker like that. It's been, we haven't had a striker at that point in their career in a long time. Robin Van Persie was that kind of striker, that kind of pure goal scorer for us, but he was kind of getting old. He had a tremendous season, led the league in scoring, don't get me wrong. Harry Kane's younger and has more to give than Robin Van Persie did when he came to Manchester United. I'd love to see it. I don't see that happening. I think it'd be a really tough move to make happen within the league to bring Harry Kane in when it would leave such a giant hole in Tottenham. Tottenham without Harry Kane becomes more of a fighting for seventh place kind of team than a fighting for Europe place kind of team, in my mind. But seeing that as an opportunity, there's a couple names being linked with Tottenham. The one that I saw consistency was Eintracht Frankfurt striker Bas Dost. Big dude, definitely offers a different pace than what they have in there. He's sort of I'd compare him to Claude Giroux, the way he plays for Chelsea. Maybe not quite as adept a player with his feet as Giroux is, but still that big body that can be a real presence on set pieces, generally good with his head and good with his back to goal. Do I see it happening for the end of the month? I don't know. I've never seen Mourinho make anything happen fast. Throw in Daniel Levy, the chairman at Tottenham, another guy who's known to drag his feet and known to make things go slow. It's like he spent the last 10 years auditioning for a job at Manchester United. He just turns everything into a saga the way we've done it with all of our transfers. I don't know if I see anything happen. If it does happen for Tottenham, it'll be because if Kane leaves. If Kane leaves, they're going to have to make a move. I'll assume they'll have the money to make multiple moves if you can move Harry Kane on. It's got to be a $100 million plus move. But what that ends up being, I'm not sure. I think an addition of Bas Dost to be a good idea. The other name I saw out there was Alexander Sorloth. Don't know a whole lot about the guy. He's another big body. Got a little more speed, I think, to offer than Dost does, a little bit younger. And it'd be interesting to see if they make that kind of move. I don't see anything coming from Tottenham, though, unless it's sort of someone out the door to bring someone in. It's a lot of straight talking for me, so I got to get a little water in here. I have to walk away. It's all right. Back to Manchester. Back to the squad. What's going on in my part of town? Manchester United off this week, as I mentioned earlier, from their European commitments. I didn't want to see this anyway. I wanted them to lose in Manchester or in Europe and get out of there before they could. But instead, we had a weekend game of nothing matches behind closed doors with a few of our regular players. Donny got to make an appearance, Donny van de Beek. Interesting to see Van de Beek for United, what type of player or how we're going to use him. In my head, when I bought this guy, a lot of my football knowledge is based on the FIFA franchise of video games. I will get every year's FIFA football and download it every year, but I always have to try and build my own teams. And I play Donny van de Beek when I've been buying him for the last couple of years in the exact same role where Bruno Fernandes has come in and really, really put on a show at Manchester. So that place, in my mind, that number 10 role is locked down. Bruno has earned it. It is his spot. So where do we fit Donny in around that? I had a couple ideas on that. My best thought, I think, would be seeing how he can do as a deep-lying midfielder. We tend to be setting up in that 4-2-3-1 approach. So I'd have him sitting beside Paul Pogba. The issue has been before, with Pogba, he really needs to have that stay-at-home sort of midfielder to work from. Pogba's going to go for a run. He's going to do what makes Pogba great, which is get forward, use his athleticism, use his body to barrel his way into positions, and then still be able to put the brakes on and have that, that touch of a dancer sort of thing. So Pogba needs that freedom to get forward. He hasn't done well in any kind of restricted, deep-lying role. He has the makeup, he has the physicality for it, but it hasn't really brought the best out of his game. So seeing if he can find a way to play beside Van de Beek. Otherwise, it gets into a squad depth position where, each week you're going to have two of these three in the lineup, be it Pogba, Fernandes, and Van de Beek, with Matic and McTominay maybe taking up that other role in the more defensive, the more sort of fill in, the steely role in the inside. I'm just looking forward to see how it's going to work out. I don't see Van de Beek being a real part of that front three. I think the front three started looking really good as the season wrapped up last year. A few weeks ago. It's really last month. It ended in July. So seeing, Rashford's kind of locked his position down. Anthony Martial absolutely stepped up and said he's ready to be a top club striker, especially after the restart, the COVID restart this year. So the front's looking fairly locked down. I don't think my personal gut feeling now is the Jadon Sancho move's just over. It's gone on for too long. The only way this happens is if we end up paying even more and more and more. And I think it's just time to look elsewhere. I love seeing the rumors, constantly seeing the rumor of Gareth Bale either coming as being bought and coming to Manchester or coming on a loan for the year. Manchester can afford his ridiculously, as reported, £500,000 a week wages. He's a player I have loved since he torched Mycon playing for Tottenham back in the day. Before he went to Real Madrid, won the Champions League with Real Madrid, has really done everything possible at Real Madrid, and it's time to move on. I'd love to see him come in and take that right wing spot at United, take some space or give some space to Mason Greenwood to play a little more down the middle when Martial needs a bit of a break. Allow Dan James to still use that speed out there, and maybe see a little bit of Chong as well. So I'm hoping to see something come in on the right side for Manchester. My last spot was I really got to see something on the back end. We didn't add anything to the defense this year after spending a buttload of money on the defense last summer. $50 million spent for Aaron Wan-Bissaka was absolutely money well spent right from the beginning. It's shown that way. And the money for Harry Maguire, I'll agree, we paid way too much money for Harry Maguire. I don't think there's anyone who's willing to doubt that. But he's came in and he's made himself a first one, a selection each week. He's willing to get on the ball. He's willing to take those giant strides forward when he knocks something down with his huge head. So he's been a good addition. Is it $80 million? It's not my money. I didn't have to write the check. I'm not going to worry about that. But I'd love to see that kind of money splashed out again to bring in another, an upgrade on Victor Lindelof. Lindelof, in my mind, is too slow and too small to be what he is. He is good. He gets in the way. His interceptions are above average. He is not good enough on the ball to give up that much physicality. So looking for something that's an upgrade all around to Lindelof. He is a guy I think could go fit in Italy especially and really play the ball well out from the back in that league. But to be week in, week out, to be a Premier League type player, I don't think he's the guy. So looking to see the move. I like seeing the constant rumors as well for Sergio Reguilon, the Real Madrid left back, who's been sort of numbers gamed out of his position at Real Madrid. Zidane still really seems to favor Marcelo and Ferland Mendy, who they picked up last summer, the young Frenchman. Ferland Mendy's a fantastic young talent. I don't know if he has the attacking talent to be a Real Madrid regular, but he's got the physicality. He's quick. He reads the game really well, and he seems to always sort of look like he's going to end up in a big pile of bodies and somehow stumble out of there with the ball at his feet. So exciting players for them. It really shows the depth and makes a player like Reguilon something that would offer a real different approach for the Manchester United team. Someone to spell off Luke Shaw, who's not going to be available week in, week out. He's not that guy. We got to accept that and plan for it. And that's something a little bit different. He's definitely a more attacking defender than we have really anywhere else in the squad, especially as it seems that Diogo Dalot, the Portuguese defender, is sort of on his way out. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has made it clear he doesn't have the faith in him. Dalot made one start after the restart, looked poor in it, and was substituted at half, and from there didn't even make the bench after for the remaining games. Timothy Fosu-Mensah came in and took a couple runs. So I think that spells pretty much the end for Dalot. Too bad for him. I thought he looked good when he came in. When he initially signed him, he looked a little bit soft, but I would expect a 19-year-old coming from the Portuguese league to have to adjust to the physicality of the Premier League. I didn't really see it as an issue. For me, it's got to be a week in, week out sort of thing. He's not putting in the time and training because he's never really been able to break through and become a regular at Manchester. So maybe the best thing for him to do at this point is to move on and chase his dreams somewhere else, because lots of players do that. You can come to Manchester, you can come to a big club, one of the biggest clubs in the world. They're definitely in the argument, however you want to cut that pie. And it can just be too much for some people. The stage is too big. The theater of dreams is just too bright for them, and they're not able to be themselves and to play their games that way. I certainly know the feeling. I've bombed on stage before. I've never been on a stage as big as Old Trafford, but I've certainly walked out on stage and just been terrible. As a comic, it happens all the time. I'll go out and, whether the occasion gets me or whatever it happens to be, it's just part of the deal sometimes. Um, but we're getting towards 11 here. I'm gonna start winding things down. I just want to check my notepad to see if there's anything interesting I had here that I didn't talk about. I didn't at all talk about, and I almost want to save this for when Dan's back. But if you haven't seen it yet, if you're a footy fan, just go to YouTube and type in PSG Lyon Brawl. Because kicking off the French season, it got a little bit nasty at the end. Tackles started flying a little bit wildly in the second half. Before the game wrapped up, a football brawl broke out, which means I think someone, palm punched someone in the side of the head, and there was definitely a bunch of pushing and shoving. The controversy that comes out of it is that Neymar says that there was racial, basically just walked away. It does not a good look. Obviously, the world as a whole is sort of trying to wake up to these kind of things and bring an end to, especially racism in sports and any of that kind of bullshit. If you're going to be using that kind of language, absolutely. Neymar, I guess if I was to take the ref's side in this, Neymar had been complaining the entire match every time there was a ref near him. He may have just been walking away with not listening to what Neymar was saying whatsoever. Because the league, both the league and the team have launched investigations to look into this a little bit deeper and see what's going on. End of the game gets pretty wild, though. Neymar as a whole, I don't know. I don't think I've seen a bigger wasted talent in my time watching football than Neymar. Just a guy who should have been the best and keeps finding a way to get in his own way. That's going to be it, though. We're going to wrap it up here for Born Offside, the soccer show, for my co-host, Empty Chair, Dan Brennan. My name is Chad Gibson. Thank you all for watching. We're here Monday nights. Check us out again. And like us on Facebook. Check it out. It is the Born Offside, the soccer show. And yeah, once all. Thanks again, everybody.